repercussions that lead to the American or the Jewish dream of the Promised Land. Good evening, this is Dina Osman, and this is To The Point. This evening we'll be discussing the myths and facts pertaining to the Christian Zionist movement. With me this evening is a distinguished panel. With me is Professor Dr. Zaghloul al-Naggar, the member of the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs in Cairo. And also with me this evening is Dr. Reverend Ikram Lamai, Professor of Comparative Religion. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and if we can get straight and to the point, what is Christian Zionism? The floor is open, whoever wants to lead the discussion.
In the name of Allah, our Creator, the Creator of the universe and of everything that's in it, I greet you, Dina, and your observers with our Islamic way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings, and mercy be with you all. Christian Zionism is not a new movement. It's quite an old movement that goes back to probably the 18th century. And it stems from the fact that Jews who have been persecuted all the world over planned to infiltrate the Western Church and modify its ideologies in the way that services the purpose of the Jews. And throughout history, we know that Jews defied Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. They did not accept him as the Messiah. They tortured him. They encouraged the Romans to try to assassinate him and hang him and crucify him. They were the enemies of Jesus Christ. For a movement to come and join Zionism with Christianity is a great mistake on both the sides of the Christians and the Jews. It's mainly a political movement that tries to exploit religion to justify the massacres that are being carried out by the Jews in the land of Palestine, and to justify the right of the Jews in Palestine, which is a right that has no founding whatsoever, historically, religiously, ethnically, linguistically, by all means, legally. Jews have no right whatsoever to occupy Palestine, expel its own people, and try to carry out the massacres and the bloodshed, the destruction of the homes and the mosques and the churches and the schools, the excavation of the cultivated land, the sowing down of cultivated trees, and the killing children, women, elderly people, and doing all the illegal actions that violate human rights in the name of Judaism and in the name of Moses. And if Moses would be resurrected, he would be the first to defy this and stand in its face. And to exploit Christianity, to fight the Muslims and the Arabs in the name of Jesus Christ is a grave mistake that has to be combated by all faithful Christians who know exactly the role of the Jews in the face of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him.
Reverend Lamai, can I get your point of view on the issue?
I think this religion go back to the very beginning of Christianity in the first century. Because as you know that the Judaism is background to Christianity. Jesus Christ was a Jew and his disciples were Jews. And after destroying the temple by Roman Empire, the Jews get out from Palestine to the whole world. Then they started, some Christians, they thought that if the Jews go back to Palestine, it is an indication to the second coming of Jesus Christ. This religion stopped in the 5th century by St. Augustine. He said, no, this is not an indication for that. After the Second World War and the persecution happened to the Jews in Europe, the Christians started to have compassion towards the Jews. And then in the 18th century, two theologians called Ashkefield and Derby, they started to think about the old religion But the old religion was not militant religion. After the Zionist movement came, they started to have a link between this religion and the militant Zionists in Palestine. Then they started to have this religion to encourage Christians in Europe and America to help Israel to have the Jews in Palestine, and this will have Jesus Christ coming back very soon. Then this religion starts to be alive.
But Jesus Christ was not a Jew. He was not a Jew.
He was born as a Jew.
He was born in a Jewish medium, but he was not Jewish.
Of course, yes.
He was not Jewish, you see.
Of course.
Jesus Christ said, I was only sent for the lost sheep of the children of Israel. He sent to invite them to the true religion. So he was not following the religion. He was not Jewish.
The separation between Christianity and Judaism happened in the 70th year after Jesus Christ.
But actually it happened by his resurrection, by his coming.
Of course, yes.
By the coming of Jesus Christ, he nullified all what the Jews were doing.
But I mean the influence of the Judaism in Christianity.
No, I'm talking...
I am not talking about the pure Christianity. I am talking about the influence of Judaism in Christianity.
No, what I'm trying to emphasize is that Jesus Christ was not a Jew, because this is the big propaganda. The Jews are trying to misuse Christians by deceiving them, by saying Jesus Christ is the king of the Jews. He was not Jewish. He was not Jewish.
That's what the Christian Zionists believe in? Isn't that the preachers, the Christians?
They say if we try to know the religion, this Christian Zionist, they say when before the coming of Jesus Christ, it will be a war, very big war. Israel on the side and the whole world on the other side. And when Israel...
But there was no Israel at that time. At that time there was no Israel.
I'm speaking about the future.
But the Romans were governing Palestine at that time.
Excuse me, I'm trying to express myself.
Yes.
The religion now, the Zionist,
yes,
the Christian Zionist religion,
yes,
they believe in the last days it will be a very big war called Hermagedon, Kafr ibn Amr now. In that war, the whole world will fight with Israel, and Israel started to defeat, or the world will defeat Israel. Then God will enter this war by earthquakes, by something like that, and then Jesus Christ will come
back
and will be the king of the world for 1,000 years. Then he will be the king to the Christians and to the Jews.
And this will happen where? In the Palestinian land?
In Palestinian land. Then the Jews in that time will accept Jesus Christ. They refused him in the 1st century. They will accept him as a king.
Because he saved them, suppose. Because he will save them.
No, but you see, they are denying him now. They do not accept him.
Yes.
They don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. They don't believe that.
That's right.
You see?
Nowadays, they don't believe in him.
But you see, all this is a falsified story that has no basis in any religion. That the state of Israel has to be facing the whole world. And Jesus Christ will never come back.
Where is this derived from? I mean, does it exist? We have 3 holy books. Does it exist in any of the holy
human
books?
imaginations.
This is something of misinterpretation of the Old Testament. They have some verses in the Old Testament about the kingdom of Israel and about the Messiah who is coming to save.
Who instigated this movement? Is it the Christians that instigated it, or is it the Jews that are capitalizing on it? Who instigated this movement?
Of course, the Christians, the Christian theologians, but they don't have any militant religion. They just say, if the Jews go back to the Palestine, it's one of the indications to the second coming of Jesus Christ.
But, what's the basis of this? What's the basis of this, even in your Bible?
Yes.
Is there a basis for this?
Yes, of course, some verses.
What does it say?
But they misinterpretation.
What does it say? What does it say?
That Jesus Christ will come back for his people.
Who are his people?
For the Jews.
His people are the Jews?
Yeah, this is the misinterpretation. This is the misinterpretation.
So it says that Jesus will come back for his people, but it
Yeah.
doesn't specify who the people are.
Yes, that's
well,
right.
isn't it, logical to say that his people are the Christians, those who are his followers?
Yes, yes,
So
that's right.
how did this misinterpretation come? How did the Jews fit into the picture? This is what we're trying to
You see,
get at.
it's mainly the infiltration of the Zionist influence in the Western Church. The very first copy of the Bible, compiling the Old Testament, the Psalms of David, and the New Testament was made by the Jews. The very first interpretation of the Bible, of the Holy Book, for the Christians was made by the Jews. And it is the mistake of the Muslims who left the area open for the Jews to distort the Christian religion and the Christian faith in the way that serves their own purposes. And the Jews, throughout history, because they believed that they are the chosen people of God, they are the children of God, they are the perfect people, you see. This gave them the conceit and the arrogance that whatever they do is accepted by God, you see. So the Jews have no inhibitions. They can do whatever they like, and they think they will be forgiven for it. They think they are superior above all other nations and above all people, you see. So the movement having Christian Zionism is a misnomer, is a big mistake.
But why are you shouldering the blame on Muslims? Why aren't you, for example, saying that the Christians allowed Jews to enter their churches and misinform them?
Yes, I'm blaming the Muslims because the Muslims did not do their job. We did not do our homework properly, you see. We left the area open for the Jews. And the Jews exploited the simplicity of the Christian mind, the naivety and probably the peaceful nature of the Christian mind. They exploited them and made them believe that Christ, peace be upon him, will not come again until a Jewish state is established in the land of Palestine.
Can we take a point here and go into something? Where did this movement start?
In America, in Britain, originally in Britain.
In Europe originally,
Yes,
not in the United States.
No,
In Europe,
in Europe.
because they feel guilty because they persecuted the Jews. And then they felt this guilt inside them. And they started to have compassion with the Jews.
But this persecution is
give them
very
an
late.
ear.
Yeah, that's right. And they, some of them, they want them to leave Europe because, the Jews is troublemakers always. And some of them, they want them to leave, to leave Europe. And there were 3 places. One of them in Uganda in Africa, one of them in Latin America, and the third one in Palestine. Then they started to think, where is the best place to bring the Jews there? Then they started to think about this religion. Then they say, if we have Palestine for the Jews, it will be a spiritual or religious movement to bring the Jews from all over the world to Palestine. Then they choose Palestine. Why I said that? To improve that it's a political movement, not a religious movement. They have a political idea. Then they started to research or looking for
ways to implement this.
Yes,
But
An umbrella. So it's a disguise for political movement.
It is a
that's
disguise,
right.
yes.
Okay, as Christians, do you believe that this movement, those who follow it, are believers?
As a Christians, yes, this is
Christian Zionists, are they? What are they? Are they Christians? Or are they Jews?
Let me interfere for a second.
Go ahead.
You see, in as much as I said it's the Muslim mistakes, I think the Christian Zionist movement is a Christian mistake because this was formulated long before the persecution of the Jews in Europe. The movement was established in Europe long before the Jews were persecuted. So it is a Christian misinterpretation of their own books. So to claim that Jesus Christ will not come again until a Jewish state has been established in Palestine is a fake. It has no foundation whatsoever. You see, and the fact that they said Uganda or South America, you see, does not means that it's a political thinking.
Yes,
it's not a religious thinking.
That's right.
It's mainly a political maneuvering. And they found Palestine a suitable place so that they can disturb this region, control its wealth, have an influence there. And that's what America is doing today. Americans are using this established step for them in the region to control the region. And that's why they allow them to have weapons of mass destruction. And they deny it for anybody else. They support them for whatever they do, legally or illegally. Anything, you see. You take the resolutions of the United Nations. 99.9% of the resolutions were rejected by the U.S. representative. So they are blindly supporting this state. And they have no foundation whatsoever for this support, for this blind support, other than hidden reasons.
So can we safely say that today this Christian Zionist movement, it is nothing but a Jewish lobby's
It is
effort?
indeed.
No.
It is indeed
No,
the
we
Jewish
cannot
lobby.
say that. We cannot say
You
that.
wouldn't agree
Yeah.
with that. How would you
Yes,
label it
yes.
then?
We have many Christians, they believe that in the second coming of Jesus Christ.
And we believe in
And
the
they
second coming of
believe-
Jesus Christ.
And they believe that before his coming, the Jews has to go back to Palestine.
Why?
Okay? And
Why?
then
Why should they go back to Palestine?
Who is they? Is it the Christian Zionist or is it Christians?
it's Christians.
Christians-
Before the Zionist movement appeared in
yes.
the history. From the very beginning, from the first century, it was there.
So Christians believe that Jews will have to go back to
Yeah,
Palestine.
Some of them, yes. And
But what's
they
the
don't
justification for
believe-
that?
But they don't believe at all that they will go back by militant.
How would they go back?
They will
Is
go
this
back
mentioned
by
in the
peace.
Bible? I mean, the word Palestine, is it mentioned?
As we know that in Palestine, before the Zionist movement, the Jews and the Arabs lived together for centuries, together. Christians, Muslims, Jews in Palestine, even in the Middle East, even in Egypt. There was no problem about
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
But the problem happened when the Zionist movement started to have a militant religion in Palestine. You see,
So
the link
Reverend, I just want to concentrate on one thing. Where did the word Palestine get into this? Because this is where the dilemma is.
Yes.
Why Palestine? Where do Christians get this from? Is it something mentioned in the Bible? Is the word Palestine?
Yes.
That Jews have to go back to Palestine
Yeah, that's
specifically?
right.
No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that.
it directly like this.
No.
No,
Isolate
Where
it.
is it derived from? Why Palestine? Why not Egypt, for
Yeah,
example?
because if you read the gospel, you see, you will find some verses say that Jesus came for the Jews, but the Jews refused Jesus
Him.
Christ.
Yes.
Then Jesus Christ went to the whole world, for the all nations, not just for the Jews.
Yes.
But they say the refusing of Jews was a blessing to the whole world. Then this refusing will be blessing to the Jews in the last days.
But
You
who
see-
said this?
you see?
Who said this?
Paul, the Apostle Paul in Romans. He said that.
But we still...
He said
But
that.
listen, Paul was not a prophet.
No,
and
he is an apostle.
he was not
We
a-
believe in him.
He was
Yeah.
not a prophet. He was not a messenger of God. Paul did not meet Christ. He did not see him. He saw him in vision. He don't meet him.
We believe.
He
You
did
don't
not
believe in him. We believe in
Yes,
him.
but he
They
did
all
not
the
meet Jesus
Christians all
Christ.
over the world.
But
they believe in
Reverend, we still have to go back to one thing, and that is your explanation is great, but it does not give us an insight into why Palestine. I mean, why not anywhere? Why not the United States, for example?
For example.
No, the gospel says that as Paul said that the Jews will go back to Palestine.
So it mentions Palestine.
Yes, of course, yes. And then this is the promised land. The promised land.
But
they
this is in the
believe
Old Testament.
That is the promised land.
This is in the Old Testament.
Old Testament and the New Testament.
In the Old Testament, it does not say that the Jews will go to Palestine. It says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, has promised Ibrahim and his descendants
Yes.
this blessed land.
Yes.
And of course, this does not mean the Jews specifically. Because we have a verse in the Holy Quran that says, الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ. The righteous people can inherit the land. God is not really distributing the land on the surface of that planet and giving property positions. He's saying,
I agree with you.
Yes.
We have interpretation for this verses, a spiritual interpretation. Yeah.
What does it mean?
Spiritual
Yes.
interpretation
What does it mean?
that the promised land is the whole land of all over the world.
Fine.
And this is
Fine.
for
So it's
the whole
not
people.
Palestine.
It's not Palestine.
Not Palestine, yes.
Why-
That
why
is why
they-
we believe. Yeah, we believe.
So this is what Christians believe, that
Yes, of course.
the
But
world
not-
is the promised land, not
Yes,
Palestine.
Yes, yes, but some of Christians, they believe it Palestine, and they believe that
Is
the
it-
Jews has to go
Is it
back.
some of the Christians, or is it the Jewish lobby instigated this, that the promised land is Palestine? Are we capitalizing on a political dilemma, or if not a political farce, and turning it into a reality that Palestine is the promised land? Is it a Christian belief, or is it the Jewish lobby getting this into the Christian mind?
It's a Christian belief for very little people all over the world, and the Jews and all the people, they picked up this religious and started to have it in the media, and
May I just
and
come?
they have influence on the young people in the United States. I can say that the main line churches all over the world, especially in the United States, they are against completely
Against the
Zionist, the Christian Zionists. I have here.
Before you read your article, I would like just to come in for a second. Really, before the Zionist movement started, Christian Zionism was there. So it's the mistake of the Christians interpreting their own book before the Zionist movement started. So to claim that the Jews have got right in Palestine, it has no foundation whatsoever. First of all, who would say that these are the descendants of Abraham and Jacob? Who would say that? The Jews spread all over the world. Judaism has been accepted by very many nationalities. We have Indian Jews, we have African Jews, we have Arabian Jews, we have European Jews, American Jews. You cannot say that Jews remained as a pure race that did not mix with others.
I agree.
So who would say that
Yes.
these particular Jews, you see, have got the right to go back to Palestine?
No.
No
I
justification
agree
for
with
that
you.
whatsoever.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Secondly, you see, the 92.5% of the Jews of today are Ashkenazim, are Eastern European Jews. And these knew nothing about Judaism. See, there was, in the 10th century, a state around the Caspian Sea called the Mamlakat al-Khazar, the Khazarian kingdom. And this Khazarian kingdom was an atheistic kingdom. And then some Jewish rabbis went to the king of the Khazars in the 10th century and persuaded him to accept Judaism. He was an atheist. He accepted Judaism and declared the country to be a Jewish state. These Khazarian Jews, who are mainly Tatarians, Turkish race, have nothing to do with Palestine. They have nothing whatsoever with Palestine, or the Semitic race, or the people of Abraham. They have nothing to do with it, you see. These constitute today more than 92.5% of the Jews of the world. The governing body in occupied Palestine today are mainly Ashkenazim, and these are completely non-Semitic. They have no relationship whatsoever with the region. The claim that there is a statement in the Old Testament or in the New Testament that the Jews should come back to Palestine, these are not the Jews. These are vagabonds from all over the world, having no place in their own country, found an opportunity to exploit in Christianity, and they found the support of the British and the Americans to come to
That's
Palestine.
right, I agree with that. We refuse this religion at all. And
But why don't we hear of a strong, the reason that we're talking about Christian Zionism now is because it is clearly evident now.
Yes.
It's being
Yes,
capitalized
yes,
on
of course.
in light of the current political situation in this region. But why is it that we don't hear of a strong Christian movement or a strong Islamic movement
Yes.
that counters this,
Yes.
that explains the myths that are into this
Yes.
concept?
Yeah, the Zionist, the Christian Zionist movement, we cannot say this church adopted this religion. We have no church adopted this religion, and they say we are Christian Zionists. We don't have this.
Why
But
are we
this
calling,
movement-
can I just interrupt you? Why are you calling it a religion? Is it a religion or is it a belief?
Yeah,
Because
belief,
it's
yeah. You can
Islam,
say-
Christianity, and Judaism. There is no religion as Christian
Zionism.
Zionism.
Yes.
So it's a belief. It's
It's
not
a
a
belief.
religion.
Yes, yes, I can say that.
Why don't we have strong preachers, strong influences in churches that are spreading this belief,
Yeah.
countering this?
This kind of Christian Zionist influence the young people all over the United States. Not in Europe, for example, because in Europe, the
No, in
Christian
Europe they are very
religion-
strong.
No.
In Europe they are in England they are very strong.
I don't think like.
Listen, I have here.
America.
I have here.
Well, maybe in the United States there is one weak point, and that is the lack or the prohibition of religious education in schools.
That's
So they're leaving it to outsiders.
And
to-
they have
to-
money. They have money. They have about 100 TV stations, and they always 24 hours a day they speak about the Christian Zionists. But in the same time, the what we call the silent majority over the world, this silent majority, or what we call the main line churches, they refuse all.
Why don't they speak?
They speak.
Why don't they speak?
Of course. They
Why
speak,
not
but
with
not
a loud
loud.
voice? That's what I'm saying. Christian Zionists have a very loud voice nowadays. Why is it that the Christians and the Muslims have a very low voice when it comes to the
You see,
objecting this kind of belief?
Yes.
I'll tell you something. You see, as my friend here is saying, the Jews have control above the media all over the world. And of course, with this control, they cannot allow anybody to criticize them. But I have in front of me here 11 distinguished organizations, very large organizations that speak about Christian Zionism. In Britain, in France, in Germany, in America, not only in America. And as I said, the mistake of the Christians to misinterpret their religion and claim that Jesus Christ will not come again until a state for the Jews has been established in Palestine, this was a Christian mistake before it was a Zionist exploitation of Christianity. And it is high time for the Christian leaders to denounce this. This is not justified according to their own book. According to their own book, it says that the promised land is for the pious people. It's not just for the whoever would claim that he's an Israeli or he's a Jew. These people have no right whatsoever to be there.
Let me read for you the.
But in a nutshell, please, because we're running out of time.
Yes. The decisions taken in the last session of the General Assembly for Presbyterian Church USA. Presbyterian Church, one of the biggest churches in the United States, which was held from 25th June to 3rd of July. They say the General Assembly assured the church's decisions concerning the Palestine-Israel conflict, highlighting the importance of ending the occupation of Israel to the Palestine territories, considering the occupation the source of evil, the main reason of the conflict, its consequences, which is represented on the violence, the death of innocent people from both sides. Third, here they say the General Assembly challenges the Christian Zionists, considering it a clear misinterpretation to the Holy Scripture to serve political goals. Moreover, it asks all the church members to study the Bible very carefully, based on the right theology, on the frame of the Christian Reformation ideology.
Okay,
very
gentlemen,
clear.
we have to wrap up, but before we do so, what do you think the next step should be, taking into account the current political climate and the religious influence of this political climate on religion, not vice versa, because politics now is influencing religion. What should we as Arabs, be it Muslims or Christians,
Yes.
what should we as Arabs do? We are in one ship and the ship is sinking.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
What should we do together right now to counter this move and other moves that
You
are
see,
marring our
we
image?
should try to explain to the West particularly and to the world in general the deceit of the interpretation of verses in the Bible that would give the Israelis the right to be there or the right to violate all human rights in the name of the fact that they have the right to establish a state, and in the course of this they can do anything. Killing, shooting, looting, destroying, excavating, they can do anything. This justification has to be explained to the people that it has no founding religiously, historically, ethnically, legally, has no foundation whatsoever. The blind support of the West to the Israelis is a great moral defeat to the West, and it points to the fact that the West has no moral values, has no religious values, has no ethical values, and of course the majority of the West are not devils. There are reasonable people there who can listen. We did not make our voice loud enough to be heard, and it's high time that we should do something.
We have very good experience in that this church, Christian Church of America, in September 2002, after 1 year of 11 of September,
Yes.
they invited 10 groups from the Islamic world, one Christian and one Muslim, and they choose me to go to America with a colleague, a Muslim colleague from here, and from Ethiopia, Italy, Syria, Lebanon, and they organized a program for us to go to churches, Islamic centers, and universities. And we met with students and professors, and we express ourselves Christian and Muslim about our point of view in Christian Zionist and about the relationship between Christianity and Islam. And every year they have the same.
Yes.
And I think if the civil society in Egypt and even the government, they started to have many programs like this. One of the Christian leaders with Muslim leaders, and all these groups go out to Europe and America, and they explain our point of view and all these things.
I think they did started doing something like that. I just came from a mission to London, England, and we met with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We met with the churches, the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church. We gave lectures in London University and in Oxford University. We have a lovely meeting. And I think such missions has proved to be very fruitful and very useful, because we are highly misunderstood in the West.
Well, let's hope that
they were just Islamic group. My point of view
is the mixing of the two religions.
Yes.
Well, let's hope that Christian Zionism would be replaced by Islamic Christianity or Christian Islam, which will be more lucrative. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to thank you, the viewers. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.